Hey everyone, today we're gonna actually finish the bottom half of the desert leopard gecko setup. So you might be wondering, what is going on? Well, I am so close to the camera because we moved the enclosure into the shelf it belongs to. And it's on the very top shelf. So it's very high, I'm on a ladder, and for that reason everything is kind of like close together right now just because of where placement is. So I'm gonna go down here and talk to you from the side. This is the enclosure. If you remember, we did finish all of the background last time, and we'll be molding the bottom half. So there's a few tips that I'll be going over with you, but mainly the secret ingredient here is using excavator clay. So there's quite a few debris still left in the bottom of this. I'm gonna go ahead and grab my vacuum, get all of that out, and then we can go ahead and start. So before you start, you do have a general plan of where you're gonna have hills, valleys, caves, flat spots, that kind of thing. Because when you're molding excavator clay, you'll be able to mold it, but once you kind of have things set in place, it's good to just leave them and let them dry. One key piece is this black piece of piping, and this is one of my secret ingredients as far as cave decorating goes with excavator clay. So what this does is, I found if you try to get too deep or too fancy with your decorating, the excavator clay doesn't hold well and it can crumble. So what I like to do is actually buy piping, and then I just put the excavator clay over that. And that way the piping is what's holding the tunnels, and you also save on excavator clay because you're not, using so much to try and build up your tunnels. Your tunnels here, you're just basically hiding this with the excavator clay. So I know that I want 2 openings toward the front just because I want to be able to see, the leopard gecko more, and then we'll have a secret hideout in the back. So I'm putting this toward the back corner like that, and this is where I'll kind of mound my excavator clay up and around. But I am going to plan for a basking spot right here, so a piece of tile will end up going right here. Take a good look at my mess. My pet room is a disaster because I'm designing so many cages at once, but this is excavator clay. It's out of the bag, and it's this red clay stuff, and you saw me put it on the background in the background making video. This is what I use to kind of give that final dusting, that background, that reddish color to what I made. And so this is the stuff, and it comes in a bag. It looks like this. All you do is add some water, which I brought in a cup, but I'll probably need a couple cups more. So you add in some water, and then I don't know why I'm holding a plant. You use a spoon then to mix it all in. So you want it to become kind of a cookie dough consistency is how it feels to me. So you don't want it runny and you don't want it super dry. You just want it to be a nice Play-Doh, kind of consistency. So I'm gonna start in the back corner and kind of work my way forward. Okay, I'm just gonna take a step back. Hopefully you can see that. Yeah, it's working. So the whole back corner is filled in. I just need to now kind of fill up this front area, and soon it should just look like 2 caves. And again, I'll keep working my way forward. So this is what it looks like so far. Hope you like it. We'll keep going. Now here's where we're at so far. Hopefully you can kind of see. So what we have is that cave. There's the pipe, and I molded a lot of the clay like about inch into the pipe on both sides, so that way when you look at it, it's not very obvious that there's a pipe there. It looks like it kind of continues in for a bit, and then it's the black pipe. And also black I chose purposefully because when you do look in the back, it's just a dark color. It's gonna look like a very deep cave at that point. If you do choose a white pipe, which I believe are cheaper, just kind of keep that in mind that it will stand out more that it is a pipe. But if you get black, it will very well blend in. Also, right here, you can kind of see this ridge. So what I've done is kind of created a barrier across this back section here. And both sides are gonna have the same sand and such. But this also creates a kind of a pseudo hide because back here we have the wall that will block viewing from the front, and over top what I'm going to end up doing is adding a bunch of logs that kind of crisscross over, so all underneath will be a secondary hide. So what I'm doing next is, while this is moist, this is a good time to do this. If you want to add fake plants in, I would do it now, because as soon as this dries, if you try to stick a plant in, it's going to crumble the clay. So I'm going to do this now while the clay is nice and soft. This is also a good idea for animals that are destructive. So if you have a bearded dragon, you can get fake plants, which it won't die, and you'll be able to stick them in so they're kind of solidly a part of your scape, and they're less likely to get damaged and pulled out. It's just something to think about. So I'm gonna go ahead and add the plants in. All right, there's a better view of it, guys. So currently it is in the drying stage. You need to let your excavator clay completely dry out. This is what will harden it. It will also lighten in color, and then now it will blend in very, very nicely into the background, which, remember, we did make that background. So if you are interested in making that same background for yourself, I do have a video on it. I will link it in the description. But once this excavator clay dries, we will be able to then add in the substrate, the little basking tile, and the water bowl, and it will be all ready for Amoeba to move into. So let's wait 2 days and we'll come back and complete this. Hi, it's me. So it's been a couple days, it's actually been 3, and I'll back away now so it's not my big face, but it is pretty much dried. So let me get you a closer look in so I can point out a couple things I have noticed. First, check out this mega cracking that's happening in the clay. And the clay here is pretty much dry. It's solid now, it is dry. And it created some really big cracks, and I think it's just because I really was laying it on thick here and it was pretty moist, and you'll notice there's some cracking in other areas too. There was some cracking here in my little shelving area, but it looks so good. So here's what the bottom area looks like, and we're gonna go ahead and fill this with sand. I don't do bioactive in this enclosure because, again, it is the vacation home for her, so there won't be any worry about like bugs getting in between cracks and stuff like that. But there wouldn't really be that much of a problem with it because there's nothing behind there but that black pipe. But everything does look good, and so we are gonna go ahead and fill it with sand. And so what I mixed is a 50-50 soil to sand, and so the sand I have is children's play sand, and I highly recommend this more so than any other kind of sand. It's not only is it cheap, but it is safe for your reptile, and I'm mixing it with organic topsoil, and together the two really make this safe for a leopard gecko. Even if it were to ingest a little bit, both of these things are easily passable, so you're not going to have to worry about impaction. And there is huge arguments for both sides of no loose substrate, yes loose substrate. There's such a huge argument for both, and I'm gonna just tell you guys, I've been doing tons of research, and I wouldn't do something if I thought it would harm my animal. And I did a tester on this loose substrate I'm about to do. She's been on it since the beginning of April, so at this point in time that's about, I don't know, like 6 months. So she's been fine, no risks of impaction. I also don't feed her on the substrate, and again, there's no loose insects in here, so there's really no reason for her to ingest it. I tongue feed her, or I will feed her on a tile, which you're gonna see me putting here under this basking area. There's no reason for her to be eating the substrate. I'm holding this so carefully, but just so you guys know, this is what it looks like. I'm in the more of the soil side of things. It's sandier, deeper into my bucket here that I'm keeping all this in. So you'll start to see it become a little more sandier, and we'll mix that all together as we get further along. Okay, now I'm gonna go ahead and put in my basking tile. This is just a tile from the hardware store. You can find it in the bathroom or kitchen area where, you know, you would have tiles. And I really like this because tiles actually hold heat well, and it keeps a clean surface. It's also easy to clean, to just kind of brush off the soil. Not only do I like the tile for basking, I also like it to feed on. So especially if you are worried about ingestion of substrate, you could feed directly on the tile and it's a nice clean surface. I also have a water bowl that I'm gonna put on the cooler side here. And that's it for necessities. Up top, out of view, I do have a UVB tube light and the heat light. Leopard geckos, another myth is they don't, it's not a necessary thing for them to have heating pads, so there is no underheating pad, and you shouldn't do one anyway, especially if you are going to have a naturalistic environment like this with substrates, because if you put a heating pad underneath, it can really heat the substrate, and it just doesn't create a good environment or gradient. So you can heat a leopard gecko from above, and this is what it would be like in their natural environment anyway, and as long as they have belly heat, which mine does in the form of the tile, then it's fine. So like I said, all necessities are in. The enclosure itself is done. I'm just gonna grab some of the logs and sticks and bark and other things to really fill this in and create a lot of nooks and crannies and hiding spots. And there you have it, a naturalistic enclosure. Let's take another closer look. Here's the entire thing. This is the background we made in part 1. Again, I will link that in the description. This is an excellent background, and now you can actually see some of the ledges I created initially you couldn't see in part 1. So here we've got a really far out ledge. We have a ledge all the way back here for walking, and then this is kind of steps up. So there's quite a bit of space in the back. And then below is what we created in this video. And so this is including everything. This is all the clay sculpting. So we really mainly just sculpt this with the clay. And then we have that ridge that divides the front and the back. It's all covered and twisted by different pieces of wood and this bark that's right here. So there's a lot to hide there. That's kind of a warmish, coolish area. And then over here we have the true cool area, quite a far away from the light. Back in this corner is where I'll be misting more because it is pretty enclosed except for that one entry point, and that will just really help for shedding. So that will kind of be the humid hide. And then up here in the main part of the piping where we made our caves, which look lovely by the way, is where I'll have just a plain old cool hide. But there's everything, guys. It's all done, it's all complete, and so let's go ahead and move her in. She's my leopard gecko. She's the class pet. She is actually the first reptile I bought. And I love her so much. And she's just a wild type. There's no special morph. I'm not really a morph person anyway, but she's beautiful just the way she is. And so let's see if she'll enjoy her new home. Okay everyone, I hope you enjoyed this video. I'm gonna say what I always say, and that is if you like this kind of stuff, please subscribe. I do post videos every Friday, and leave a comment if you have any thoughts, or if you're gonna do the same thing for your leopard gecko. I look forward to posting more for you guys, and I can't wait to show you what's coming up, because we got a really big cage that's coming in, and we're gonna do that whole thing and make it look super good. So see you guys next week.